Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is currently August 5th, 2022. You guys are watching this sometimes next week. I hope you guys had a beautiful day. I hope you had a beautiful week. I hope you had a beautiful July. I know it's been a minute since I've been on here where it's just been me. I know I've been having Taylor on for a lot of the podcast, which is something I do want to implement more and more as we go into the future. I mean, the main reason essentially is because doing a podcast is, it's hard. You know, talking for an hour a week is difficult. It's not super easy. It requires a lot of like mental stamina. But it's something I enjoyed to do. And frankly, I love having her on. You know, she's so much smarter than I am. She has such a different remix of intelligence, and I learned so much from her, and I love just listening to her talk, and I love talking to her. And you know, this is something I've built on my own, and I want to kind of welcome people to it. And she's the closest person I have in my life, so she's the person I'm going to try to have her on probably 2 times a month. But with that being said, I'm going to be doing probably 2 solo episodes a month as well. So probably just right down the middle, 2. She did get a remote position. So with that being said, I do have to kind of keep it quiet in here because she's currently working, and I don't want to interrupt them, and I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be a bother to anybody. But yeah. So we're here. Let me just go ahead and I'm door dashing still doing that, still doing that old DoorDash life, which, a lot of people probably do as well. But, it's a respectful position. I love it. I say it all the time. If I got paid like $2 extra per order, I probably wouldn't ever even look for another job, but I don't. I make enough to live where I live. I make enough to invest, but I want to obviously eventually land a position where I can make more money so I can expedite that ability where I can because there's a bunch of things I want to get into this episode, frankly, because so much has happened within like the past 3 weeks. In the past 3 weeks, I haven't done a solo episode. Like so much has happened. Everything from, the situation that's going on with Taiwan, everything that's going on with like the recession that we're currently in, everything that's going on with like the stock market, and just the crazy month of July that the stock market had. Just a lot of different things happened. So I want to get into all that. But the first thing I kind of want to address real quick, just a few things. So I've been uploading a lot of content lately on all my major platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's been kind of crazy. 1 second here. I don't know what this charge is on my Apple Card. Who the hell bought something from me? What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? 1 second, guys. Sorry. I know this is not professional. Is this someone? Is this one of you? But I want to kind of address a few things since I have been posting on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram a lot. I've been getting a lot of different people who are discovering the podcast, and that's my intention, and that's what I try to do. And that's, I put out clips of me talking, and some of these clips are from years ago. Some of these clips are from last month, but the majority of them are from the old studio. The old studio was my parents' house. My old studio was my bedroom, and it was the corner of my bedroom. Like, it was literally the corner of my bedroom. You could actually see on the wall behind me a picture of, you could see a picture of a brain, and then behind the brain was my closet door. So I was literally at the corner of my bedroom, and this is where I would do my podcast. And I did it there for about two and a half years. I've been doing it here in the closet for about 6 months. But when it was there, I had a bunch of stuff behind me. I had this right here behind me. It's just if you're on audio, it's just my podcast name. And then I had this astronaut looking at a alien that my girlfriend's one of my girlfriend's family members got for me. In addition to that, I had plants. I had like a little a coin thing that I would put money into, but it was a brain. I had that, and then I had like a pillow of a chimpanzee. Just a bunch of things I like. Like I like the brain. I like chimps. I like cacti. I like plants. But outside of that, I also had a flag. I had an American flag with a blue line through the middle. And I'm not upset. Like I'm just kind of responding. I just want to explain to people what that is. It's a thin blue line. For new listeners out there, I am a product of police officers. I was raised by police officers. My parents were both, they met in the academy. You know, I'm 25. They were law enforcement for 30 years. So I was brought up in a house that was, you know, cops. I had babysitters that were cops. I had family members that were cops. Some of my closest friends were police officers. And that was my childhood. You know, that's what I know. And I've always been a very pro-police person. It's always been who I am. I love police officers. I think they're incredible people. I think they're incredible humans. I think they're complicated people. I think they are underpaid. I think they're treated like shit. And because of that, I respect them. I think they're incredible. And that flag was actually a product of one of my family members who made it for me. And I had that flag behind me. And if I didn't bring it here, I just didn't think about it because I didn't know it was going to be such a hot topic. But if I did think of it, it would be right behind me right now. I've had people call it like a bootlicker flag, which I didn't even know what that meant. I had to look up what that, like a bootlicker even is. It's apparently somebody who is like trying to be very like in your face and like in your face against different movements like anarchism and BLM and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I want to clarify. Like when I put that flag up, that was before the summer of 2020. Like that was before the George Floyd incident. And I'm not apologizing. Like I don't care. The way that you take what I put up in my room is up to you. I have a meaning to it. It doesn't mean anything bad. There's no undertone of anything racist towards it at all. It's a flag with a blue line because to me, with my relationship with police officers, they are the thin blue line between good and evil. That's all it is. There's nothing else. Now, if you want to take it as I put that flag up because I'm anti-BLM or I'm anti this group or I'm pro-cops and there's a huge movement to try to say that cops suck, you can do that. And that's totally fine. And that's kind of my point. I'm unapologetic to it. At the same time, I will be the first person to tell you that some cops are absolutely horrible individuals. Some cops should have their badge removed immediately, and there should be better oversight and better training for police officers, and there should be better pay. I would never be someone who say all cops are good. I would also never be someone who recognizes an issue and turns a blind eye because of my personal beliefs. That's called a cult, and I'm not that person. It's the reason why I didn't vote for Donald Trump either time. It's the reason why I never voted for Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. It's the reason why I vote for who I want to be president. It's the reason why I say things that upset Republicans and I say things that upset Democrats. And I don't apologize for that. I have my personal beliefs. I know who I am as a person. I have 5 people in my life who I love dearly. They love me dearly. They know who I am. And if they have any issues with me, we talk it out. Everything else, I'm unapologetic for. If I say something that offends you, I want to fix that. I want you to hear me out. I want to apologize. But for some things, I just don't. That flag has no other meaning than it's a flag because my parents are police officers and I was brought up in a world full of officers. And that's it. That's all I wanted to say about that. Outside of that, everything else is just funny. I put up clips up there that are intended for marketing reasons. Like when I wear my glasses and I wear my hat and I wear my hoodie over top of my hat with my glasses on. I look like a crack dealer. Like I look like I snort all the cocaine. That's intentional. If you guys go to school for marketing or anything like that, you will understand that that's part of the game plan. You got to get your name out there. You got to get your brand out there. That's what I do. I dress up like an idiot and I put it out there. But that's the whole, that's what podcasting is. That's what building a brand is. And that's what I'm doing. Frankly, I'm in year 3 of this. I've hit this weird growth moment where, I mean, I'm getting tens of thousands of new eyes on my content every single week. It's wild. My subscribers, I've gained so many subscribers. It's been crazy this last month, 2 months. I'm posting daily clips, literally every single day. That idea really came from, so there's a gentleman named Russ who's a rapper, and he posted a Instagram. He made a post on Instagram, and I think from 2012 to like 2020, he put out a song every single week, 52 songs a year, which is extremely difficult. Like, I can't even sit down and write one song. And he posted his income from April 2012. I think it was like 29 cents. And then he posted his income from April 2022. I think it was like $350,000. And I kind of got in like this weird position with my podcast where I think every creator gets to this point, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, where you kind of get comfortable in a workflow. And when you get comfortable in that workflow, you kind of stop innovating, and you kind of stop doing new things. And that's where I got, especially because I moved. And when I moved, I thought I was not going to do my podcast again. Frankly, I thought the podcast was over, which was very upsetting. And then when I got a new job, I was like, I have no time. And so it was just really rocky there for a second. And I think that, coupled with just seeing steady growth, kind of made me hit this area where I was like, I can just put out a screenshot or a quick screen recording, 1-minute screen recording of me just talking at any random point of my podcast, take the thumbnail, make a quick little post on my Instagram, Michael Lab Show, and people will eventually find my podcast. And that's just not how it works anymore. I was being very naive, and frankly, I was being ignorant. And I got past that with Russ. And then there was this guy named, a comedian, he's still around. His name is what's his name? Stavros. He put out, he was on Andrew Schultz's podcast, and this is when everything switched for me. This is when like the lights kind of flicked on for me. He did this thing where he was taking advantage of YouTube Shorts. Now, I didn't know what YouTube Shorts were. I wasn't using it as a platform. Frankly, I thought it was kind of stupid, because to me, YouTube is not YouTube Shorts. It's YouTube videos. It's podcasting. And so I didn't even look at it. I didn't look at it at all, but I was not using my TikTok either. I wasn't really using anything. And he fundamentally blew up off of just posting shorts on YouTube. I mean, each one was getting millions and millions of views. And then he went on Flagrant 2 with Andrew Schultz, and I was like, holy crap. Like, he's on Andrew Schultz. He's from Baltimore, which is where I'm from. I'm from Maryland, the Annapolis, Baltimore, DC area, the ABD. And his comedy, he was able to sell out comedy clubs all across the country because he was taking advantage of this new platform. And then I kind of sat back and I looked at it, and I was like, well, TikTok is here to stay. TikTok is really eating up a lot of the share of Meta, Instagram, YouTube. And I don't know. I was like, well, Google owns YouTube. Google has all the information. They're the the top 3 biggest company in the world by market cap. And then I was like, well, Meta is up there, top 10 by market cap. And there's no way that they're just going to let a Chinese company come in and wipe them out. And then I was like, okay, I need to really hit the gas hard. I need to take advantage of this moment. And I did. I started putting out 1-minute clips on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok. And I do it every single day, and it's blown the podcast up. I mean, frankly, it's doubled my numbers on YouTube, and it's been incredible. But I think with Russ and Stavros and then Andrew Schultz, it kind of taught me, like, hey man, you got to take advantage of the tools that are currently being presented with you, and you can't have like this old person ignorance. So once I saw that, I really kind of flipped the switch, and that's what I've been doing. And that's how you found this podcast. So I just want to get that out of the way. I wanted to talk about the flag. And there's a few other things I've written down here that I want to talk about. For you guys who don't listen to the podcast that often, what I essentially do is I talk for an hour, roughly about 45 minutes to an hour by myself, and I kind of talk about like daily topics. If I have anything on my mind, I kind of just write it down on a notepad. I get on here and I let it rip. I do get a lot of comments of people saying like, you're all over the place, or like, I can't hold a subject for that long, or like, I'm an idiot and stuff like that. And all that's fair. Like, I can't hold a subject that long. You should see me functioning out in the real world. It just doesn't exist. I have like ADHD, like to like the craziest degree. I have OCD. Like, I have like a lot of stuff that like doesn't allow me to just be narrow-minded. I wish I was, but I'm just not that way. Like, Taylor's that way. Like, I think that's why every time I post her on social media, it does so much better than me. First of all, she's a girl. She's pretty. I'm a dude. Oh, like I came out of a garbage can. And also, she's like laser focused on a topic, and she like do it for a minute. I can't do that. I bounce from here to there to there. Like, I'm everywhere. So when you listen to the episode, I could be talking about, the moon, and then the next topic could be about dolphins, like dolphins jumping over the moon, and I can make that come together. I also talk about like my life stories. I talk a lot about money because, I think money is like the most important thing in the world. And I know a lot of people, as I was brought up by police officers, I was brought up in this world where like money's the root of all evil. And for so long, I was under the impression that money is bad, that like to achieve money made you a bad person, almost like a communist or almost like a Marxist, like somebody who just believes capitalism sucks. That was me. So I convinced myself I didn't want money. And then I started working at this gym, and my boss was like a savage. And I was like, fuck, dude, he's happy. He has money. I want money. And so I started like figuring out how to make money. I picked up a few books here and there. I picked up, obviously, Think and Grow Rich. What's the one? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I picked up the one with One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, who was the head of, I think, Fidelity for 10 years. Maybe not Fidelity, but somebody else. I picked up The Compounding Effect. I picked up a bunch of books, and that led me down a path to really learn about money. I opened up a brokerage account, I think like 2018, and I started plugging money away. And I'm just going to go over like what I'm invested in right now. So currently I have, a decent amount of money, and I have it invested into 3 different investment cards. First one, the QQQ. The QQQ is a breakdown of the NASDAQ 100, the top tech companies in the entire world. About 49% of my portfolio is in that. About 49% of my portfolio is in VOO, which is Vanguard S&P 500. That is basically the top 5. It's basically the market. The S&P 500 is what is the benchmark. So whatever your portfolio management's doing, his manager, at the end of the year, he's graded against that specific index. It averages about 9.8% return over the last 40 years. And then I'm also invested in a company called Realty Income, which is basically a property management company that owns property. And I own about 1% of my portfolios in that. So not much at all. That's my portfolio. That's what I invest in. I invest each week, as much money as I can. And I make sure I do it every single week. Even if it's $1,000 or it's $10, whatever it is, I make sure I invest every single week. My investment strategy is essentially dollar cost averaging, DCA. There's multiple different forms of investments. You can do a lump sum investment, which I think is more common for somebody who uses or goes through like a company. Like lump sum investing is, I have $50,000 from, a dead family member or, a bonus or whatever. I came across this huge check and I don't know what to do with it. So I'm going to invest it. And that's what that is. What I do is I take a certain amount of money because I'm going to be here for the long run. I'm not going to touch this money until I'm probably 50 years old. I might take it out here and there to like make down payments and stuff like that. But outside of that, like I'm not messing with this money. This money's here to stay. in this portfolio. So every single Monday, I pay myself first. I make sure I have enough money to invest. The QQQ I like to invest in because it is, over the past 5 years, I think it's like a 250% return. It's a really, really solid ETF. It's by Invesco QQQ. It's really popular. It's tech heavy. Meta, Google, Tesla, Nvidia, AMD, Apple, obviously. And then I also invest in, so that's more of like, not risky, but it's more like higher return, higher risk. And then I also invest in the S&P, and that is a broad-based ETF market portfolio that I put money in each week. I basically put money there, and then that money gets slowly transferred. I think like 12% of the S&P is like Apple, and then it just breaks down that way. So like for every dollar I put into the S&P, 12 cents of it goes to Apple. So I'm a part owner of a lot of companies, and those companies are for growth. There's also, or those ETFs are for growth. There's also a kickback with a dividend 4 times a year. That dividend's cash. I reinvest all that. I drip, so direct reinvestments on my dividends. And then I have the realty income, which is something I started building up 2 months ago, because I've gotten 2 dividend kickbacks. Basically, realty income is you rent from a property. That property is owned by a company. That's what realty income is. They own a bunch of apartment buildings, a bunch of real estate, a bunch of commercial land, and I'm basically a owner, and I have tenants that pay rent each month to these companies, and they give me a kickback. So it's a monthly dividend, and that's the reason why I'm building it up that way, because I got those 4 dividends. I got those quarterly dividends from QQQ and S&P 500, which is nice, but they're not as high. They don't pay out monthly dividends. So I kind of want to build up this real estate income or realty income to give me back a monthly paycheck. That's essentially what I want to do. I want to get to the point where I can make like an additional $500 a month off of investing in this company, which is the reason why I opened up this specific holding. Outside of that, I don't really own any crypto right now. I used to, but I had to sell it for my fucking old job that I ended up quitting. And I don't really own any single companies. Every once in a while, I like dabble in Apple, or I dabble in Google, but I'm very passive. I'm here for the long term. I'm not here for the short term. I'm not here to, I'm here to have money when I'm 50 years old, 45 years old. This money isn't party money. It's just freedom money. So that's kind of my mentality on investing, because I've put out a few clips where people kind of trash me on like my investments, and none of that's financial advice. That's what I do. Now I am like, I actually don't want to get into that. I don't want to run the risk of saying anything that could potentially get me in trouble. But that's kind of like the biggest subject I talk about in this podcast. I love talking about money. It's completely changed my life for the better. I used to work as like a restaurant manager / server. I made a lot of money doing that, but that life is rough, man, because at that age, I didn't know about investing. I always think about it. Like if I put all that money into an investment portfolio when I was 16 years old, 17, 18 years old, making $1,000 a weekend, dude, I would be able to retire by 30, like no doubt, just off of dividends alone. And then I would definitely have real estate by this point. But you learn and live, and I've learned. I lived. So that's kind of my investment. Outside of that, I have a savings account, checkings account, and that's about it. I pay rent, I do whatever, and I do this podcast full time. That's kind of. I just wanted to give like a quick introduction to who I am, what I talk about, and yeah. So let's get into a few topics. The first thing I really want to kind of dive into is everything that's been happening with the economy. I went to business school. Well, I don't have an MBA, but I went to college. I graduated with a degree in entrepreneurship. And when I was in business school, whether it was marketing class, or whether it was business law, or whether it was like economics, or whether it was accounting, I was taught one simple definition of what a recession was. A recession is when an economy, GDP, gross domestic product, so everything that's produced and sold in a country, is running a negative growth rate for 2 straight quarters. That's what I was taught. That's what all the college textbooks teach kids. If you go to school, that's what you're taught. And there's no way around that. That's just by definition, that's what it is. And we had COVID, and we pumped a lot of money into the system. And because of that, the economy got really, really hot. Inflation got really, really high. And it's still high. And it's starting to come back down. I personally believe that July was a turning point. I think the June number for CPI was 9.1, which is up 0.4% from May. But I personally think that July is going to come out at like 8.7, 8.8. I do think we're starting to fall back down just because gas, at least like where I live now, is like $3.15, which it was like $4.89 at one point. So, you know, gas kind of controls inflation. Like whatever, like the higher gas is, the higher prices are, because companies had to, gas runs everything, you know, like 18-wheelers had to drive, shipping, flying, like all that stuff to get products across the country. All of it is based off of gas. Like gas is very important. The price of oil is like extremely important. And I think it kind of got out of control. There's a lot of money in the economy, and it pushed prices up really, really high. And I think that is starting to turn. But in that process, there was a recession. We're currently in a recession. This is what I'm trying to get to. We're currently in a recession. There was 2 negative GDPs consecutively in 2022. The first half, the first 3 months, and the second 3 months. And that's okay. When an economy is in a recession, that's not bad. That doesn't mean a bad administration. Then that's the one thing I want to, like, a lot of people who are very like anti-Biden. It's not Biden's fault that we're in a recession. Yeah, you can point your finger at him a lot, but Trump also put us in recession. 2018, we were in a slight recession. That was his fault if we're going by that logic. So it's nobody's fault really. Like if you know anything about like the economy, recessions are part of growth. There's always a recession, and then it goes higher and higher and higher. If you look at the stock market is the best place to invest because it's guaranteed returns pretty much. We don't use guaranteed in the field of money, but it's almost a guaranteed return over a long-term period. I think like after 20 years, like the percentage of you like losing money in your investments is like 0.1%. Like it's very, very low because these are the best companies in the whole world. But in order to kind of reset yourself, you need a period of slow growth, and that's okay. But there's this weird narrative out there now where I listen to Bloomberg, I listen to Squawk Box, I listen to CNBC, I listen to a lot of like financial outlets, and they're all saying like, are we in a recession? Like, will we get into recession? And like there's professionals, like even the White House secretary and like Joe Biden are saying things like we're not in a recession. It's like we are in a recession, and that's not a bad thing. Like you can't change, like you're directly lying to the American people, and they know they are, and they're doing it. Frankly, they're doing it because they know that this midterm is going to be a rough midterm for them. I think Democrats are going to lose a lot of positions. I think the Republicans are coming in strong. I think they're going to take over a lot of seats in the Senate and in the House. I think you're going to see a few governors. I mean, here in my state, in Virginia, it turned Democrats to Republican. I think that was the beginning stages of just a red wave. And it sounds so dumb when, you know, I don't like saying shit like that. Like, oh, it was red wave. But, you know, man, that's what it is. Like, that's what's happening right now. And there's no way around that, you know. And if you're a Democrat, you're going to not be happy. The same way the Republicans haven't been happy. You know, and I think that's the main reason why they're willing to lie to people and tell us that we're not in a recession is because they have this fear that if they say we are in a recession, that it's going to hurt their ability to win in 2022 midterm elections, and it will hurt them. But I personally believe it's better to be truthful and have people get upset with you than lie and to have people have this false veil of like you're doing the right thing. Because they're not. You know, like let's just be very honest here. Since Joe Biden took office, and I'm not saying that like Trump wouldn't have these same issues. I'm not saying a different president would have a different result. But since he's took office, gas has been went up. Here's a few things. There's this narrative out there as well that, and I know I sound very anti-Biden. I'm not anti-Biden. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm not pro-Biden. I'm not pro-Trump. I just don't like being lied to, and I don't like when politicians lie to us. And that's what's been happening so much lately to save their asses. That's what's happening. There's this. They're bragging that this has been the greatest growth ever of a job market. It wasn't up until last week. Last week we hit pre-pandemic highs, but before that, yeah, we've been adding 200,000 jobs month over month. But we were still 500,000 jobs below where we were pre-pandemic high. So we didn't break even. And like there's this narrative like we're at this high growth ever for a job. Well, no, we haven't actually added one singular job since the coronavirus took out the economy. And there's also this narrative that we've seen the greatest decrease in gas prices, the quickest decrease in gas prices ever. It's like, well, yeah, we also saw the quickest increase in gas prices ever. So like you pick and choose stats. It's a classic thing. I remember being in like middle school and elementary school and high school, and they used to teach us like how to like draw proper graphs and like how to put certain XY titles and how they shouldn't be manipulative. You just have numbers and you should show these numbers in the truest form. These numbers shouldn't be shown in a form that is trying to get a false message out there or trying to take the truth and make the truth twisted. And that's what's happening. When you put up a chart that shows the price of gas here and then the price of gas now, and you don't show anything before, you don't show how the gas was $2 cheaper 3 years ago today. You don't show how it was $2 more expensive 5 months ago. All you show is that decreasing depth of high to low. You think you're pushing a message of change, and you think you're pushing a message of look what we did, but you're not, because people don't want to be lied to. I don't care if you're the biggest Trump supporter. I don't care if you're the biggest Biden supporter. When you feel like you've been lied to, you're pissed. You're pissed. I mean, Biden has an approval rate of 37%. 37%. 30, I think maybe even low. I think it's like 34. But it's the lowest, I think, ever for a president. I could be lying. I could be misinformation, but I'm pretty sure it's like the lowest ever. And we're still getting up there and telling people this is the strongest economy we've ever seen. We don't see a recession in sight. Meanwhile, we are in a recession currently. Like, I want to reiterate that we are currently in a recession. We are. We've had 2 negative growth GDP quarters in a row. That, by definition, if you don't believe me, Google it. We are in a recession. Yes. 2 caveats. It's a different recession. 1, because the job growth is still very high. Okay, I'll give you that. And 2, because people are still spending. That's fine. People are still spending. But that doesn't mean we're not in a recession. That you could say we're in a recession with an asterisk. That's fine. But just telling people that we're not in a recession is an absolute lie. And you're doing it for votes. And people don't want to be lied to. And people feel lied to. I know people in my life who are very close to me who've always voted Republican. And they're considering voting Democrat because these Republicans sound like fucking idiots. They just do the opposite of what the Democrats do, and nothing ever gets done. And we're passing these packages, like these economic relief packages. We're giving people more money at a time where inflation's through the roof. It just seems like there's a lot of disconnect here, and like there's a lot of do what I say, not what I do, which is scary. And I think when you sit up there on a podium and you tell people we're not in a recession, meanwhile people are spending $5 for gas, you're hurting yourself because your words have no clothes. We can see right through you. I mean, I'm not, my girl and I, we're not struggling, but we clearly have seen our expenses go up. Everything has gone up. And then when our president tells us we're in the best economic position we've ever been in, it's like, dude, you're lying straight to our faces. Like, fuck off. Like, nobody wants that. What we want out of a politician is somebody who gets up there and is just honest with us. Like, hey, we fucked up. hey, yeah, actually we are in a recession, but that's okay. This is a normal thing. Like, teach us. This is a normal thing. Economies go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. And when they go up, they always go up higher than they were previous. So for the next, 6 months to a year, the economy is going to slow down. Yeah, it's going to cool off. Yeah, we might be in a recession for a little bit, but that's okay. Because when we get out of this, there will be more jobs created. The market's going to be higher. Things are going to be cheaper again. The dollar's going to gain back more value. But you don't tell us that. You tell us that we're just not. And that's, it's very frustrating. It's like the government's gaslighting us. Like, this is like the ultimate form of like manipulation. And I know some people who like believe it. Like, they fucking believe it. Like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. And this is what happens when you put blind faith into an organization or a group of people. This is the shit that happens. And it's very frustrating, and it's very annoying, and it's one of those things where I feel like people need to know, because I feel like people don't understand. And it's even more frustrating when people do know it, but they still don't recognize it as truth. You see that a lot with people who are like diehard Trumpers or like diehard Biden people, where it's like you can show them all the stats they want. You can show them direct evidence of why they are wrong, but they won't budge because they have wrapped so much of who they are into an identity. Like, I am a fucking Democrat. I am a Democrat. I don't like Republicans. I don't like guns. I want billionaires to be taxed. Like, there's these things that you have to check off. I am pro-choice. I see no middle ground on that. There's no such thing as men and women. It's all made up. Like, biology doesn't exist. Like, there's these things that you have to like hold on to and believe. Like, our economy's doing well. Like, I love Ukraine. And like, there's these things that you have to say, because if you don't say, you like get kicked out of this party. Like literally like a party, like not like a political party, but like a group of people. And it's scary. I see it with fucking Republicans too, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I made a TikTok making fun of the South, because it is, dude. Like, there's this blind belief that fucking Trump was a god. Like, there's people out there who literally believe like he is still president. And not just people. Like, I have family that believe that he's still currently the president. And that is a scary time where like, we're not just even lying about like definitions. We're also lying about reality. Like, the reality of the situation is Trump is not the president. Joe Biden is the president. Like, that's the reality. But we've gotten so, like, I don't know. We've grown, it's not like we've grown apart, but we've just gotten to this point where we just, I don't know, where we just hate everybody. And it's so weird to see. It's so strange to see. And I don't like it. I don't like being lied to. I hate being lied to. It just smells bad. The one final thing I want to get into before I end this podcast, it's going to just be like 40 minutes, It's my first podcast back on by myself. So, I got to build up the stamina to go for an hour again. The one thing I did want to kind of talk about real quick is Taylor Swift, man. Yo, these climate people. Oh, first of all, PETA and climate people, these are organizations that only exist in countries that are advanced, and you don't have to worry. Like, PETA is the most embarrassing thing of all time. Okay, that was shock factor. I get it. PETA is an organization that is pro animals, essentially. Like, they don't like farm factoring. They don't like farming, animal farms, not George Orwell, but they don't like farming on a mass level, which I don't either. They don't like the way that animals are treated, which I don't like either. But PETA has like this ability to just forget that their organization is in a country that is so wealthy and so advanced, where you can worry about where you can worry about humanely killing animals. Like, in a lot of countries that are underdeveloped and that don't have access to food, they will kill an animal and they don't care. Like, eating animals is not a bad thing. Eating animals is it's the thing that you're supposed to do. Like, we're humans. We're designed to be meat eaters. That's what we do. We eat meat. And like, for PETA to say like we should all be vegan and because we're not supposed to eat meat, it doesn't make sense. Like, a lot of the world that's underdeveloped, what they do is eat meat. They kill deer. They eat raw fish. They eat raw animals. Like, where's PETA when it comes to that? It's like they hate farming factories, which I totally am on board with. But like, the messaging seems to be a little bit confusing. In addition to that, like, these climate people, man. God damn, dude, these climate people are crazy. Look at me. Okay, so is the world hot? Yes. Is the world heating? I think so. Is global warming real? Yes, I believe so. I've heard professionals, doctors, not doctors, but like professors on each side of the spectrum saying, yeah, it's heating, but not abnormally. It's just going in like a regular phase. But I've also heard people that say like, oh, by 2020, the whole world's going to be underwater. Like, I mean, back in 2000, back in like 2005, I remember sitting in class being shown like videos, like, if we keep up at this rate by 2025, the whole world's going to be underwater. And like, every single, like, every 10 years, I'm like, well, that was wrong. It's like this scare tactic that every 5 years or in another 10 years, this is going to be underwater. In 5 years, this is going to be underwater. And like, nothing ever happens. I'm not saying global warming is not real. I'm not saying people aren't dying of heat stroke and people aren't dying in London and it's not 104 degrees or it's not 100 degrees when I'm door dashing, because that's reality. That is true. That is happening. But at the same time, man, like, these people go hard. Like, they went hard at Kylie Jenner. They fucking tore her apart for flying a private jet. They went hard at Taylor Swift for flying a private jet. Like, what is Taylor Swift supposed to do? Like, you're the reason why she's so famous. She can't, literally, people break into her house to kill her. Like, I think one guy like broke in her house like 3 times. And these people go so hard at her because she's flying a private jet. I could take anybody, not anybody, but a lot of people who are very, very like, it's also strange to see what people like put their flag into. Like, there's people that put their flag into climate control. That's where I'm going to die. This is the hill I'm going to die on. I'm going to save the turtles. I'm going to save the planet. And they go after anybody. Like, she's famous because people listen to her music. It's not her fault that she has to fly a private jet. What do you want her to do? Take like a fucking boat like Greta Thunberg? No, dude, Taylor Swift's got to go perform for, Prague, for Seoul in South Korea. Like, this girl's internationally famous. Beijing. Maybe not Beijing. I meant to say Belgium, but I said Beijing. Like, she needs a private jet to get anywhere. Like, this is so dumb. I saw that last week and I was like, I need to get on this podcast where nobody listens and I need to defend this woman, because you know what? Taylor Swift's amazing. Taylor Swift is an amazing person. She has a beautiful voice. She's a beautiful soul, and people love her. Females love her. Guys love her. I love her. Shake it up, right? Is that her? Shake it up. Shake it up. But anyway, she's amazing. Like, back off, guys. Like, worry about something else. Like, chill out. Chill out. I remember I put up a clip talking about like inflation, and like, I had this guy tell me like, basically he told me like, you shouldn't have to drive to go to work. Just take MTA, like the local transport. I'm like, hey, you dingbat. Not everyone can do that. Like, not every fucking city in the country is Cleveland or the size of Cleveland or Alexandria or New York City or Boston. Like, most of the country doesn't have access to public transportation. Like, people need to drive. Like, that's why we have cars. Like, let's not be dumb here. Let's not yell at Taylor Swift and Kylie Jenner for taking a private jet, because, hey, guess what? If you had the money to get a private jet, I guarantee you get a private jet as well. And like, she makes good music. That's a trade-off, man. Yeah, she might, put a little hole in the ozone layer, but guess what? You get Shake It Off and you get banging ass music. It's a give and take. It's what it comes with the territory, It comes with the territory. But that's it, guys. That's all I really want to get into today. Thank you guys so much for listening to me again. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave it a rating, leave it a comment, 5-star rating on Apple, follow on Instagram or on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, follow on TikTok, check out all my YouTube shorts and everything like that. Hopefully I'm going to have Taylor on again next week, maybe. We got to figure out like where to podcast for that, because I don't want to go outside because it's noisy. You can hear the birds talking and shit, which is not like ideal, obviously. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you had a beautiful, beautiful day. I hope you're having a beautiful week, a beautiful month. It's almost 2023. It's almost my birthday. I'm going to be turning 26. I'm old, unsuccessful. I haven't done anything with my life. Guys, thank you so much. Occupy Mars. Be well to each other. Be safe. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.